Right, so let me come out of that then, and let's see what's happening here. Okay, the meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. That's a good thing. So if you want to, can you get that, or do I need, can you?
No, I should be able to get, I should be able to get it. Stand by. I just need to find the man I called the Doc. Who rocks?
I'll go to Facebook and see if it's on mine, and then I'll basically shut up down for a bit. There's no need to go to that bar.
Yep, we're there. I see us. So, on me. Next, where's my page? Share to my page. Share to that one.
No idea what.
That one. A couple more shares and I'm done.
It's not coming up on my thing.
I can see you. Chasing the Delaney night. No more phony baloney. I can see us. Just sharing it out now. See if you're there. Do out. Don't worry, guys. We'll be with you in a minute. Well, tech. Well, for some reason, I don't know if I'm shadow banned again, but it wasn't coming up at all for me, Facebook. So the Doc had to take over. So which he has graciously and awesomely as always.
Behave yourself. There we are. There's my good friend Dave Lees. Hiya, Dave. Adamas, Amida, Julia Berry, and Dave Lees are here. That's good. Kathy, good day all. Good day, Kathy. Good.
A few tags as well to bring him on.
Roy Smith, hello Roy. I hope you're well. It's not coming up on my thing.
Oh, let's turn you down. I can hear you twice now. I can hear you twice as well. Hearing Doc twice is a good thing. Hearing me twice, not so much. So
this reminds me of when I was in the psychiatric department.
Yeah, I've got a thing for this, saying the voice that tells me what to do keeps talking to himself. Shut up! Anyway, I think that will do. I think we'll do for now. A bit of the old pluggeroonies and a bit of the old sherry fairy. Well, not hairy fairy, but sherry fairy. Oh, I could be a hairy fairy. I don't mind. Okay, so hello and welcome to Doc and Sifu. I'm sure it's meant to be the other way around. Doc and Sifu's monthly ponderings on Doc's side for a change. We're coming for Doc, so no flashy stuff for me, no intros, no flashy music for me for this time round. But hello, Doc. How are you doing? How are things in your world in this new reality?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks very much, Sifu. I feel well in myself. The Irish have a saying, how are you in yourself? Well, I'm okay with me in myself. However, when I look out there to all that lunacy that's going on, the old Joe would have got stuck into that and would have got carried away by it all. But to be quite honest with you, I don't bother much with it these days because it's very difficult to know where any truth or any real facts are coming from. And what I've discovered for quite some time now is, if I want to know the truth, I have to go in here, into my heart, and sink deeper or go higher, right, to feel my way into, is this truth for me? And different people have different truths based upon their beliefs. But, it's what works for me. It keeps me relatively emotionally balanced and clear-minded. And I think I'll stick with that, really.
Yeah, yes. Same here. I mean, as always, there are things to test us. There are things that will challenge us. I mean, for me, my dad, my father, Papa, is he about 15 years ago he had cancer, throat cancer, and was they were after like decade later they said, oh, actually, most people don't, with throat cancer don't survive more than like 10 years, and it's 15 years, but there was a lump. We found out it's throat cancer, and this time there's nothing they can do about it. Officially, there's nothing they can do about it medically. I, on the other hands, I talk the talk. And walk the walk. Hopefully, I still strong. I know about epigenetics. I know about things that are possible, that are feasible, and that's what I'm going to push for. That's what I'm going to, that's what I'm pushing for. My dad's very, he himself is very much in I believe in the medical, that the doctors know what they're doing, and if the doctors say this, that's always the truth. So I'll be honest, I love my dad dearly, but he doesn't actually listen to me often, because to him, as you said actually quite aptly, he thinks I talk a load of baloney, and it's only when other people, when I started studying and doing reflexology, that's a load of rubbish. Then one of his friends did it. Suddenly he was interested. Tai Chi, and Qigong, load of rubbish. When he actually got diabetes and he read it in a book and he said, oh, this guy does Tai Chi and it's very good for, maybe you should learn from him. Actually, Dad, I actually started before he did. I actually know the fellow, and I'm actually technically his older brother, but we won't go there. And so on and so, but there's awakening happening. There is an awakening happening. There is, I think, whatever you feel about what this year, your thoughts on the virus and everything, I think divinely the universe has used it to its the God, the universe, Gaia, whatever you want to call it, the banana people, they have used it to their way. They've used it to their advantage. I think the universe is using it to wake people up, or people are definitely waking up. And I think next year, what happened this year externally, physically, next year it's going to be internal. And I think it's going to be that people are going to have their minds blown even more than they have already. There's a lot more people awake than there was last year and the years before that. I think it's going to treble or more. I think the way things are, people are going to see things in a different light. I think in one way or another. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't fully understand it, to be honest, but what I tend to do is I go with my feelings first now, and I tend not to listen to all the nonsense that's coming out from the so-called experts unless it rings true with me at a deeper level. Because, I mean, my first career was as a biomedical scientist, and, I was very, very left-brained and linear, and I almost like cut down and cut off a whole right-sided brain of me, you know what I mean? And I looked at everything in a very, very straightforward black and white sort of a way. And I realized today is that I don't work like that at all today. I'm not interested in particularly passing or forcing any messages down people's throats. But what I do is I try and share what's happened to me, where I'm up to now, and my hopes for the future, And I really feel at the moment is the big thing that's coming to me is that personal dignity and free will choice, right? If we give people all the information, both seemingly good and seemingly bad, and we allow them to make their own minds up and accept the consequences of their decisions. That's what a fair and a free and a balanced world's all about. But there's so much manipulation that seems to be going on. But Boggy, we can't be manipulated unless we allow this as adults. And I'm only talking about adults who can think for themselves, supposedly, like me. I can see how much I was influenced by things going on externally, and now I no longer am much. Sometimes I get caught out and I get hooked on something, but I'm not really bothered about becoming emotionally disturbed with the so-called stuff that's going on out there, unless it's directly in front of me. And then if it's in front of me, I sit basically with my hands on my heart and I feel my way through it at a very deep level. And it's almost like the truth for me emerges in bubbles. And then I can see clearly what I need to do. And if that's living with the Tao, by the Tao, through the Tao, and everything else, then I am a Taoist in that regard.
And I think it's for me, it's very important to understand that that emotions are actually permission slips. That is that and I'm, some people are going to probably jump on this quite possibly, but if you get fear, if you get anger, if the negativities there, and all love and positivity, but they're permission slips you're accepting, and there are a bully wants you to be fearful. The way a lot of bullies work is by making you scared. You give them what they want. You give them all the money if they're scared of you. But if you're not scared of them, then you're not going to hand over your money. But if they can threaten you, say, "Oh, I'm going to do this to you," or "this will happen," and that's what actually happens a lot. I think I'm very strongly in the belief that the universe very much works on free will. It's like the fundamental key of the universe, and most of the time, so most of the time, things tend to work on that if they can get your permission by you signing over, or in some way, or through fear, or through thinking you can't do something about it. If they can get you to sign over and sign over your power, your strength, or give your permission because you think you have no power, that's how they work. Because in the universal law is that the universal law, free will is number one. Number two is karma. If you go against somebody's free will, karma will bite you in the arse. And I know that because I've seen that with other people. I've even seen it when I've done it myself. The whole thing of black magical controlling people. You can only control people so far, and nature tends to balance the scales by throwing something at you. When you do it, if you're doing something that you stop bullying somebody else, sooner or later somebody will come and bully you or manipulate you, and that does tend to happen, and that does exist within this service to self and service to others. People on pure ego service to self, they are always fearful. They want others to fear them, but they're always fearful of somebody bigger, scarier, and uglier coming along and doing the same to them. Where you, like say, if you listen to your heart, that's the forebrain, the 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day brain, the ego, which is where really the forebrain is the ego, that will have you running around in circles and have you, over-analyzing everything and then being probably fearful or doubtful about it. But when you listen to your heart will go, "Come sit here, rest, sit here." And all those start to filter away, and then go, well, like the Taoist would say, is there something you can do about that situation? Yes. Well, then do it. Is there nothing you can do about that situation? No. Well, then what's the point worrying? What's the point getting angry? What's the point? It's not actually going to help the situation, because worry leads to stress within the body. Stress leads to tension. Tension leads to illness, and illness eventually leads to your demise. So, like with my father, the situation with my father, can I do anything about it? Well, I can try to do teach him certain things and do certain things. But apart from that, if he doesn't want to do it, or there's nothing I can do. So all I can actually be is every single moment now is be there for him while he's still here and love him while he's still here and be the best I can. At the moment, with Tier 4 in the UK, he's stuck in a hospital and I'm here. So I can't visit him. So again, there's no point in upset about it. But what I can do is express it here, talk to him on the phone, message him. Actually, now I've thought about it, bombard him with stupid, rude photographs and older 1940 photographs. Like the saucy seaside pics that he's been sending me for the past 5 years. I can throw them back at him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds like a plan, almost karma in action.
I know.
I think because I was this scientist first and foremost, I blocked off from listening or hearing. I didn't do it consciously. It was subconsciously. I was in a state of denial. And people for a long time were trying to tell me, right, what to do. And I don't know about you, but if anyone tells me what to do, there's an automatic thing comes up in me like this, right? And it acts against me a lot of the time. So what I tend to do now is I try and listen to everything that's being said, whether it's being told or suggested or whatever. And then once again, I let it all go and I sit it in here. This is how it works for me. Will it work for you? I've got no idea. Will it work for... I don't know. All I'm doing is explaining where I came from. And you know, Boggy, that was at my deathbed, basically, because I spent years and years and years trying to kill myself with all sorts of substances, mostly alcohol, but all sorts of other stuff as well, because I couldn't stand who I was. And that was the problem. I'm a recovered alcoholic, as you know, or recovered alcoholic, doesn't matter. But the whole point about it is alcohol wasn't the problem. It was the way I was processing information emotionally. That was my problem. And I've been able to see now that basically I was an adult with a child's mind that was frightened all the time. And I can see now that emotional disturbance comes through two ways in me, through fear or through desire or pride. If I'm not getting my own way, I feel disturbed, right? Or if I'm afraid something, I feel disturbed, And I'm very acutely aware of those energies in me now. And I know that the answer isn't trying to find out from my head. I tried to do that for years. It's to see both those sides, take both of them, stick them in my heart. This is all I do. Do some mindful, slow, deep breathing with a beautiful, positive emotion. And it's almost like miraculously, the two of them get together and come up with a healthy solution. And to me now, it's not good or bad. It's, is this healthy or is it harmful? And
for you.
Yeah, for me, it's not for anybody else. And people come to me a lot now because they know what I've been through. I'm a life coach, I'm all these things that don't mean much to me, but apparently other people mean something to other people. Doesn't mean a thing to me, But the point is, they come to me and I say to them, look, all I can suggest to you is you need to get out of your head, go into your heart, and ask for the answers at the level of the heart. And then they asked me to explain it. I said, I don't know. It's a feeling I get. It's just a feeling. I'm surrendering in my mind to the Tao, to the universe, and I'm trusting that this is a much more wise, bigger process that can handle my petty affairs. And Sifu, I'm coming up now to 30 years without a drink, right? And, I'm amazed at that. But my view is, one day at a time. I've learned that. And sometimes it's one breath at a time because I still get bombarded with information. But I'm able now, thank God, to be able to process it in a more calm and collected way. Do I make mistakes? All the time. But you know what I don't do anymore? I don't knock myself because all the time my intention is to be kind, to be intelligent, not stupidly kind, to try and remain balanced and to try and contribute something to the whole, And at the end of the day, I can put my hands on my heart and I say, you did all right there, son. Maybe you can do this in a different way next time. Have a good sleep. See you in the morning. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple.
And that's the thing. And I think, I mean, over the last decade, for me, I've sort of learned more and more that I say a lot. There is no good or bad, there just is. And the reason I say that is because when I start looking at my past, like I've gone through. I was a close protection officer. I was looking after looking after princes, was FT 100, 500 businesses, and then I met somebody, and it was pretty much, well, you can continue doing this, or you can be at home and be more. And I was in love. I did that, and then I was still baking. I was still being a baker, because that was I was part-time baker, part-time close protection, and I went back into baking full-time, and then actually within about 4 years of that moment, and within 2 years we had a daughter. Within 4 years we split up. Do I regret? No, not really, because I wouldn't have a daughter. I wouldn't, and actually the friends I have now, the fellow brother who is now part of our school, the Shindao school, the fellow Sifu Baz, I would have never met him if it hadn't been for me making that move. I wouldn't have met him. There's a good possibility you and I wouldn't be talking, because I would have gone a whole different route, I would have gone to China and ended up doing stuff there. And, who knows where I would have been now. That's the point. But everything, all the time, even the bullying has led me to now. It's given me the strength, because people go, "You were never, but you're never bullied." Bullied, and it's like, I'm bullied. I stammer for a long time. I would stammer quite a lot. Still do sometimes. But my disadvantages are actually my advantages. I don't see dyslexia as a disadvantage, because of especially what I learned from my Sifus and the FT 500 index businesses. They use dyslexics because they think in a different way. They use autistic people because they think in a different way. So all my so-called weaknesses. When I say dyslexia, people, why do you bring up your disability? It's not my disability; it's my strength. Because my dyslexia makes me boggy, because it makes me think. I'm not thinking outside the box. I'm thinking outside the galaxy, and that's because of the way that's all those advantages. But that's what I think needs to happen. I feel is that people got to stop seeing the disadvantages as disadvantages and see them as opportunities to grow and to learn from, and your advantages, because they're always part of your path. The ups and downs are still the same path.
Couldn't agree more. I think that we've been almost conditioned into looking at the things that don't work rather than the things that do work, and I think that that's for a reason. I've got this approach. It's called the I Am approach to health and well-being. And I Am stands for internal asset management. And all it really means is that it's internal in that it's emotional, right? The assets are the things that are strong in me, those things that are naturally in me, that I don't have to train. They just come naturally. And management is using my strengths. So it's a strength-based approach. It goes like this: to focus on what's strong and not on what's wrong. But I think in the Western world, almost like in a manipulating sort of way, that we're always told to, well, you're not very good at that. You need to grit your teeth and spend all your energy trying to improve and become this balanced person. I don't see that anymore. I see that I'm naturally good at certain things. You're naturally good at things. I'm not going to try and do what you're naturally good at because you can do it. Why don't we just get together and collaborate, right, and make the world a better place? It's not hard, is it? But you see, we've allowed ourselves, they didn't do it to us. We've allowed ourselves through naivety, stupidity, pride, fear, greed, and everything else. We've allowed ourselves to be manipulated, right? And it's not their fault, Sifu. No, it's not our fault either. It actually, blame's not the right word. But, there is a responsibility that we have to look at, right? How have we allowed this to happen to us? How have we given our power away? And how can we restore and recoup that power so that we can get back to being our sovereign selves, if you like? My word, I've no idea what that was all about, but it sounded quite good.
It sounded really good. Yeah, well, actually, that brings to the funny thing. I've had this many times where people says, "Can I give you some advice?" And I always say, "Of course you can. Yes, I'd love it." And then they would say what they say, and then either days or weeks go says, "But you never took my advice." I said, "No, it was advice. It wasn't a command. It was advice. I listened to the advice. I thought about it. I felt about it, listening to your heart." In my version of what you do, listen to your heart, and it didn't work for me. I thought, because I will always go with this advice, in a way, is am I willing? If it works, awesome. But if am I willing to take that responsibility if it doesn't work? If I feel like I'd go, well, I did what you said and it didn't work, then no, you can't do that. You have to take responsibility for what you're doing. So if I don't feel like I could do that thing and take responsibility for it failing, then I won't do it. Which is a boggy way of doing it. It might not be your way, but the whole thing, it didn't feel right. If it feels right, if I, no, that work. Yeah, I feel that I'll do it, and it fails, and then it fails. But I'm not going to do something and then go and then feel like I could blame the other person because that's not right. So I won't do it, if that makes sense. And that's how I live my life. I mean, it's I've done lots of things that lots of people think are very crazy. One of the funny, crazy, awesome things now is, I'm going to I'm sure Sifu Baz won't mind. Well, it's tough, I'm going to say anyway. but Sifu Baz was very passionate about not doing online stuff. It was never his thing. I'm never going to do it. It's never going to be my thing. Never going to do it. Then this year happened. Everything flipped on his head, and he was forced to do it, had to do it, even to the point now that even if things were to flip back tomorrow, he would now do some, not all, but some, one or two of his classes online, because now he can actually make sense. He can actually see the advantage. That because he does mainly physical classes and I do online classes all over the world, he's come and like graded as such. My students, when he comes to grading, he comes, and it's quite funny. My students, I think he's scary, and his students think I'm scary, and it's like absolutely. We both love me because what do they think you're scary? What do they think you're scared? So it's real funny, but it's the whole point that when that happens, everything's getting flipped on its head, and now people are seeing things in a different way, and they're having to see, and that's why I think that's, to me, it's a bit strong, but it is, in a way, this is a blessing because it's making people open up. It's making people face stuff. It's making when people were saying, "Oh, wish I had time to see the family." Well, now you got it, or they're not looking or not thinking about the family, and now we're locked off. Now suddenly, and they're now actually having to face, what they've done instead of being necessary. Instead of being the last, the ultimate thing, or on their deathbed. They're for a lot of people, they're getting that opportunity to actually reevaluate their lives and reevaluate stuff. And it's a powerful, it is a powerful thing. There is sorrow. There will always be sorrow, and there will always be happiness. Sorry, I guess, I think people's idea of ascension and everything's going to be heaven. I think your mind expands, your consciousness expands, you open up to new stuff. It doesn't mean there still won't be things that you have to experience. It doesn't mean there still won't be some sort of good and bad. Probably nowhere near as bad as it got, but the whole point is and this is very much what's happening right now, is almost like a Shaolin lesson. It's almost like a shun whack, to be honest. Yeah. Is he gives you a good old thump, and then after that, anybody else hits you is nothing compared to one of those. So you learn. So because any year is going to be a doll after this year in some sense, and after next year, when your mind's really been opened up because of whatever happens, you're going to see things in a different way. And it's about, we've got to change our perspective. I feel in whatever way you learn it, but this listening to your heart, this going within, feeling, don't worry about the outside world. What's your inside world saying? Because you're the first person you should be listening to, not everybody else. It's the first person you should be listening to is you. And we sort of, I think as children, we were more into that, and then we got taken away from it. And now we got to come back to it, because the inner child, divine feminine as an energy, not as female. Divine feminine for is an energy. We all have divine feminine assets. Divine feminine qualities. That word will work. Divine masculine is an energy. It's not a man. It's an energy. Divine masculine is an energy. We have those qualities, but there's one in the middle, the inner child. For me, the inner child is the bond between the two, the bond of that playfulness, but that listening to your heart. I think deep in your heart is the inner child, your inner child, that wants to unconditional love, that wants to nurture and play, and wants to feel, and wants to go with things. And I think we need those three qualities. To me, that's the way of the Dragon Lord Shaman. That's definitely within Taoism, especially in Kuan Yin energy, and Kuan Yin and General Quan, which is divine masculine and divine feminine. And I think, that's what we need to go back to the heart. We need to start listening again, and we need to find our own inner child, as well as this balance between the masculine and feminine energies. Over to you, Doc.
Couldn't agree more, mate. And I think we may use different words, but I think the principles are the same. And I learned a long time ago that it's principles before personalities, really. And the principles that I work towards, they're deep now. They're deep in my heart. And how do I know when I'm on the right path? I feel open and flowing. I feel like helping others. I feel all that. But when do I know that I've come off the path? I just feel shit, really. I feel self-piteous. I have resentment, I have anger, I have all these things, but I can feel those trying to get in now. So I was given a set of tools a long time ago where I can almost like dispense with those feelings and allow my heart to open again. I know that these might be woo-woo type words, but I know what I mean. And what's become more important than anything else is that I just share my experience, my strength, and my hope with with people, right? They don't have to take on board what I'm saying. But the most important thing I've found out is it's all very good having high ideals and good ideas. But if you don't put them into action, nothing ever changes. So I used to be afraid. I used to have good ideas. I was ducking and diving and dodging and weaving and telling everybody else what to do. But somebody pointed out to me, called a sponsor. He pointed out to me, he said, "You're good at doing that for other people." He said, "Why can't you do it to yourself? Where's the evidence?" And it's true, and I know now that I was a grown man with an emotionally stunted, I was emotionally crippled because my little child, right, was hiding in a corner and didn't want to play out because it was a frightening and scary world, And I know now that every time I feel a disturbance, as you say, it's like a flag going up to say, hang on, something needs to go on here, right? I have to sit back. I have to ask my heart, why do I feel emotionally disturbed now? And I get a clear message. It's because you should have said yes there, but you said no because you were afraid of somebody else's reaction, right? And I know something as well now is that I can't spare other people's feelings, right? Because I need to express myself. And I have a phrase that says, if there's something playing on your mind, best get it off your chest, right? Yeah. And that's what I do now. But I ask people first to say, look, there's something bothering me. It's playing on my mind. Do you mind me getting off my chest? And everybody says yes to that. Now, when I then speak my truth, right, if they get disturbed by that, that's no longer my problem, Sifu. That's the way that they've taken it on board. And they'll have to look at their emotional side as well, So it's this thing called sobriety. To me, sobriety's got little to do with drink these days. Sobriety just means remaining emotionally calm in all circumstances. Or if you get knocked off balance, is to get back to sobriety as soon as you can, using the tools honestly. And how do I know whether I'm living an honest life? I feel good. How do I know when I'm fibbing and lying and talking bollocks, right? I don't know. When I talk bollocks, I quite enjoy it. It's fun. I enjoy that. But how do I know when I've been dishonest? because immediately I feel it in my heart. Right, over to you, old chap.
Yeah. Well, sort of. Yeah. And there's this whole thing of being dishonest to others is one thing. The worst person to be dishonest to is yourself. Is that when you're lying to yourself, and yeah, when you're lying to yourself, that that's the biggest thing. And there's this, and going back to, like I say, when you're speaking your truth, and I sort of said it in a different way when I was talking about fear and anger and everything else, is that when when somebody says, oh, oh, that upset me, well, that's no offense, but that's your, if I'm speaking my truth and living, if something I'm doing offends you, then don't be around me, don't. And I think, I feel, we've got to get into, rather than having go at people for, if they're living their truths, we have to go, well, that's your truth. I'm going to go over here, and you don't like something. It's a bit like with haters on Facebook. If you don't like something, why are you still here? Bugger off, go away, bye, love you, close the door the way out, wipe your feet. But because if it offends you that much, then leave, move. And it's this thing is that, yeah, it's about your truth. If you truly live in your heart, you should feel that expand, which goes to like how I feel things. Does that work for me? I listen to it. If I feel expanded, should I do this? Should I go and jump off an aeroplane again? If it makes my heart expand and glow, then that's a yes. If I feel, if I can feel myself start worrying about things, well, maybe that's a no, at least for now. And it's this thing you'll always get, and I think this is the thing you always have to understand at the same time. You'll always get in this universe. This universe is the universe of 10,000 things. There's lots of different options. There's lots of different ways of doing stuff. But that also technically means there's lots of different oppositions, meaning whatever you want to do, however good it's for you, there will be somebody who will be against it. But that's not your problem. And, that's, if somebody is against what you're doing, it's like, but if that's right for me, is right for me. Now, if it clashes with a partner, well, that's another truth. That's another thing you have to deal with. But living your truth should be a personal thing. And other, with other people, if people don't like your truth, and I'm not talking about truth like, oh, I'm going to go and blow everything up. Is that truth should be an honest, love, help thing about helping yourself but others as well. And yeah, if your truth is not a harmful thing, if other people don't like that truth, that's their issue. That's not yours. And I think we get too. We get too wrapped up. I know too many people. I know too many people who were healers or help people. Men, but a lot of women who will help the family, do everything for the family while they're slowly deteriorating and they're slowly getting worse and worse. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to, and so this whole service to self and service to others, there's actually the first person you should be service to is yourself. Once you are full and happy, then you can help others. Because if you're not strong yourself, if you don't look after yourself first, that's actually selfish, because you can't help others. You will end up not being able to help others. So this whole thing of it's selfish to be selfish. No, you have to look after yourself. It's good to do things for yourself first, and then from that you can help others. Because other but if the nut itself isn't made out of solid stuff, that will deteriorate and the whole bridge will collapse. So to help others, to a community be strong, the community as individuals, you have to be individual first and look after yourself. Then you can help others as a community. You can then interact and help others. It has to be a balance of those two things. It's not, we can't see looking after yourself as being selfish. Looking after yourself is about value. It's a first aid. It's a valuable thing. It's the first thing you should do. But once you've looked after yourself, then you can help others. And looking after yourself doesn't mean for the next 20 years you do nothing. Looking after yourself is a daily thing. It's a regular thing. But then you can help others from that, if that makes sense.
Perfect. I think it's called first aid. Simple as that. I think more than anything else is one of my biggest problems, although other people may disagree with this, is I couldn't say no, because what will they think of me if I say no? I had no self-worth. I had loads of qualifications and stuff like that. No self-worth, no self-esteem whatsoever. And I used to lie, and I used to, do all these sorts of things just to try and impress people, to make myself feel better. And it never worked, Buggy. And I like the phrase. I see this thing that I ask now. I call it my soul. I'm not a religious person. I used to be religious. I'm not anymore. I work at a different sort of level now. But the soul to me means source of unconditional love. And some people may call that spirit. Some people may call it God. And I like the phrase, ego is edging God out. So if you can become more and more aware of this tiny ego and the feelings that it brings when it's trying to get in, I think that's the important thing, because I was so detached and dissociated from my body feelings. And that's why I drank. That's why I took all the medication, to keep me away from feeling the truth. Because it was the truth that was causing the disturbance in me. It wasn't what other people were doing. It was the truth in me, or if you like, my conscience, to say, Joe, stop. Turn your eyes the other way around and start looking in here, because you need to grow up. I didn't like that. And there have been so many people trying to point out my childish characteristics for years, and they just became enemies. They didn't understand me because I was so special. I was sad, special, and different. That's what I thought. But really, it brought stress, anxiety, and depression, So the truth will set you free, but it might hurt like hell in the process.
Yeah, and that's, I think, it's being able to, it's never one thing. You have to, to help others, you have to help yourself before you can before you can find the love of your life. You've got to start loving yourself, because if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to see. If you can't see what's awesome about you, nobody else is actually going to see it. And I think the world has been too much. Is either people being totally selfish or totally selfless. Totally, and both, actually clash, and both are diminishing. And it's about finding that balance of these two. Stop working on these opposing opposites. This is everybody calls it yin yang, but its true name is Tai Chi, because it's meant to be flowing. It's meant to be balanced. It's a wave, and we learn to ride these waves. We learn to balance with them, and it's about it's about being honest with yourself as well as everybody else. And I spent a long time doing all these things, thinking, I'll feel better because I'm doing all these things for everybody. And it wasn't actually making me feel better. I kept helping, but actually I did a thing called the Boggy Bash. The Boggy Bash was this ice skating party, and it was awesome. But it took me 8 years. I did 10 years worth of them until they got banned. Surprise, surprise! Boggy got banned. I did 8 years of them, and for 8 years, I didn't enjoy them, because I was so busy worrying about, is this right? Is that right? Is that all set up? Is this set up? I was doing all the worrying, taking on all the responsibility, because I sort of got taught, you've got to do it yourself. You got to learn to do everything yourself. You've got to run it yourself. It's your business, or whatever it is, you've got to do it yourself. And so I took on all this stuff, worrying, and it wasn't until I started thinking, hold up, I'm doing these freaking parties. It's supposed to be my freaking birthday. This party is supposed to be for me, and I don't bloody enjoy it. What the puck? What's going on? And it took 8 years for me to figure that one out. But and then I got the point. And it's that whole thing of, now I do, I do things that make me amused. If it makes other people amused, that's a bonus. But it's about making me, doing it for me first and making me amused. And it's the same with like the way of conscious mindfulness, the show. When I first started, you see me really serious because I'm desperately trying to work out all this stuff and trying to make it. And the computer was bloody playing up because of my energy and everything's playing up. And now it's all. If I disappear, just carry on. I'll be back in a minute. And now I freaking love it, And now I like, I love them, and that's the whole point.
I agree.
And like the thing today, that would have stressed me out before. It's like, oh no, mate, I'm gonna, okay, it will work. And it's like, no, just give me 2 more goes. Nah, fuck it. Okay, over to you, Doc. You do it. It's not working for me.
I heard you say a Chinese word there, by the way. Yes, I agree. I've gone through the same process myself. I realised that all that stuff that I was doing for others was just self-serving, because if people didn't appreciate me or tell me how fantastic I was, I used to resent them, until once again my sponsor stepped in to say, I've never met such a selfish person in all my life, because I thought on the inside I was like Saint Joseph of Arimathea, and I was helping all these people, So these are things, I think, if you're going through that, it's a positive thing in my view, because it's part of this releasing and understanding, And I think what I've learned, Boggy, more than anything else is to come back to yourself. And, I teach this technique like you do, that really it's called mindful breathing. And to become aware of your breathing every single moment, if possible. When you're feeling disturbed, come back to your breathing. Is it easy? Is it flowing? Or do you feel constrained, constricted, contained? If so, rather than emotionally react and go forward in the fight, take a step back, breathe in a certain way, give yourself 10 minutes, only 10 minutes, and then think again. And I think what happens is, in fight or flight mode, when we're under threat, in fight or flight, our whole sort of vision comes down to get me out of here. We become very, very narrow-minded on I need to escape. And that's the problem is, I think that most people under threat, like the situation that's going on now in the UK and possibly globally, I think people are making decisions in fear. When if they could just, right, this is my view, I'm sort of suggesting it, it can only be a suggestion. If they can just say, yes, I'm afraid here, I'm bound to be afraid. Yeah, hang on, I know that you're bound to be afraid. Just sit, take a step back, sink deeper. And it's almost what happens to me is my consciousness expands and I get many, many more options to choose from. Yeah. And therefore, I can take a healthy option. Am I being blackmailed? Am I being forced into this against my will? Because we know how we feel, don't we? That if we do something against our will, how we feel later on down the line, So I think this is, as you said, it's a time for reflection. Right, and it's a time for maybe people to sink deeper and be more honest about where their choices are coming from. Yeah. I feel like the Pope here now and saying all this stuff, but that's where I'm up to. And people say to me, well, what are you going to do next week? Boggy, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing in an hour's time, So I'll let you know then when we get there. Over to you, mate. We're having to close down in 4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Well, like I say, I think whatever happens, in the next week, months, year, I think it's important to find a way to meditate. And meditate doesn't have to be a big flashy thing. We're telling you what meditation is. Sit there, be quiet, look within, breathe. Put your hands in your heart, hands wherever you want. Well, probably somewhere. If you're public, somewhere public, maybe on the heart or the belly, and just allow yourself to breathe and listen within, and just this will always give you 60 to 90,000 different ideas. Listen to your heart; that will give you 1 or 2, and that's the idea. Pulling out of here and draw your consciousness, your awareness down to your belly, down to your heart, and just listen, and listen and feel what the idea is, rather than all the logic. Logic will give you everything, and everybody will always give you all these ideas. But what's right for you? And that's what I think is it. Breathe. Please breathe. We are first aiders, but we're too far away from you to help you. So breathe and let yourself decide what it is you need to do. Over to you.
You're a good man, Buggy. I love the bones of you, mate. We're on the same path. I'm writing a book, it's called The F-Off Approach to Health and Happiness. And it stands for Focus on Feelings First. Because I focused on my thinking first, which was basically just a collection of nonsense that I'd picked up from experts in the outside world. This is my expert now. I've gone from ex-tuition to intuition. Do I make mistakes? All the time. I'm not bothered about it. At least I'm taking one step forward at a time. Sometimes fall back 3 steps, but you know what? I'm just used to it now. I've got a much better attitude of how I talk to myself. And most of the time is, son, you're doing well. Just keep going. Yeah. Buggy, thanks very much, mate, for coming on. And coming onto your show. Thanks very much for coming onto your show through my page.
Exactly. Yeah. Me to you, you to me.
Yeah.
So indeed. Well, it's been great. I'll see you next year.
You will.
And we're going to so bye all. Hope you enjoyed it. Love, Chi and Shen from me and from this bloke over there.
Thanks very much, and all the very best for Christmas, mate. And I'll speak to you soon.
And to you all. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.